going to go ahead and do all of Concept 21 all in one little video here. We're writing the conic sections into graphing form. So these are all on one side. I need to, with the parabola, I know it's a parabola because there's only one square term, I need to put my x stuff together, and I need to move everything else to the other side. And then I need to figure out what it is that I'm going to add to both sides to complete the square. That's what it's called. So I'm dividing this by 2 and squaring it, which is a 9, but I also need to add a 9 to the other side. This ends up being x minus 3 squared. How do I get that? Square root, sign of the middle. And then over here I want to simplify this. Those cancel out. I'm left with negative 12y. So I do need to have this term with my squared term. So I'm going to divide by a negative 12. So I'm going to have negative 1/12 x minus 3 squared equals y. So my vertex is what's opposite, what's with the y, which is nothing, so it's just 0, and then the opposite of what's inside squared with the x, which is a positive 3. And this one is x squared, which is like a normal one. It's a negative, so it's kind of going down like that, which means it is a vertical. This is our little sketch that we have there. And the p value is, remember, this is 1 over 4 times p, so p must be 3. Some people say that it's a negative value. That would be fine as well. So let's go ahead and check out this one here. For this one, I have a bunch of moving around to do. I need to put, again, the x's together, just like I did on the last one. And I need to put the y's together. But this time I'm keeping them on the same side because this one here is going to be an ellipse. I know that because I have 2 squared terms and they're different values for their coefficients. So now what I need to do is factor out my 9. Be careful, you must factor it out of this one as well. I also need to factor out my 4. Be careful, you need to factor out of this one as well. So here I'm going to divide by 2 and square, which gives me 9, but this isn't really worth a 9, it's really worth an 81. So right over here I need to add an 81. For this here, divide by 2 and square, that gives me 4, but it's not really a 4, it's really a 16. So I do need to, where's my calculator? I do need to go ahead and combine all that stuff there. So turning this on, 81 minus 61 plus 16, which would give me 36. So to finish this off, I want to factor this, square root, sign of the middle, square root, sign of the middle. And now I need to divide everything by 36. So that reduces to 4, so I get x plus 3 squared over 4. This one reduces to 9, so I get y minus 2 squared over 9, and then that reduces to 1. So my center is the opposite of what's with the x, the opposite of what's with the y, and by width I mean that whole thing is squared. And the major axis length, this is the longer one, so it's going to go up and down, up 3 and down 3. And 3 plus 3 is 6 for that length. All right, let's look at these two here. We're finding the center of this circle. We don't have to finish this problem. We just really need to start this problem. I need to figure out what am I going to add over here. So divide by 2 and square is 4. Divide by 2 and square is, 36. So when I factor this, I get x minus 2, square root, sign of the middle. Y minus 6, square root, sign of the middle. And who even cares what's over there? Because all I wanted was the center of my circle. So I'm going to take the opposite of that and the opposite of this, which would give me A. Here's our last one here. The statement which best describes this little dude here. So these are the same coefficient, but they're different signs. So circle is out. It's one of these guys here. It has the same center, but it does have different vertices. So we want to go ahead and check that out a little bit. And so I do need to put it into graphing form. So I keep my x's together and keep my y's together, but watch this. I need to factor out a negative, which means I also need to deal with that negative as well. So you factor out, just like we did up here, if it was a 9 or a 4, or also if it's a negative. If it's not a 1, you need to factor it out. And then over here, we're going to go ahead and move the 9 over. So I'm going to add a 9 here because I divide by 2 and square, and then factor it, square root, sign of the middle. I'm going to add, add a 9 too. Over here, I'm going to divide by 2 and square, which is a 1, but really that's a minus 1. So then what I have here is y, square root, sign of the middle, and that's equal to a negative 1. All right, this is tricky. So for this one here, I need to divide by a negative 1 on each of these. That's going to change things. This is now going to be positive, and this one is now going to be negative. So now, fortunately, negative 3, positive 1 is my center, so we feel pretty confident that we had that right. And then if I were to graph this, I would have 1, 2, 3, 1 as my point, and then I would just go over 1 in every single direction here. So I make my little box. But this time, since the y is positive, I need to go in the y direction. My little lines there are sad, but there we go. And so these are then the vertices, which is at negative 3, 0, and negative 3, 2, which is this guy right there. So that would be the finishing product of that.